Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Blackjack Wade's Midlife. And back with us once again, Mr. Rusty Schaefer. How we doing, Rusty?
We're good, Wade. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Okay.
We talked. I'm going to jump right in because my brain is on such an AI like overload right now. I won't say overload, but I got to tell you what I did. Anytime you're doing something like my team and I are with, I mentioned our Answermatic, our voice AI solution. That's under the umbrella of our consulting company. And also under that umbrella is an AI 101 workshop, either in
Right.
person or virtual. And
Right.
so one of my teammates ran across another young lady. I'm going to call her young lady. I'm going to say she's maybe in her mid to late 30s, who's doing AI training as well. Not necessarily 101, because a lot of the things that she's going into, I just completed the second of three sessions that I paid for to do live online with her and the other attendees, which she's doing on Zoom. She's doing using a lot of the tools that we're familiar with. She uses Notion as a note taker, note sharing database for her team. So she doesn't really use anything that we're not familiar with. She's very chat GPT centric in her teaching, but she does jump over to Claude. She hasn't even mentioned Grok yet, which I found pretty interesting. Not to say
I
that
love
there,
Grok.
I do
Grok is our
too.
friend. Grok is our
Grok,
friend.
Grok is my friend. Grok is my friend. But I'm going to tell you this, buddy. This is really a revelation for me. She's had tremendous success, and I'm going to tell you a couple of quick stories about her just to kind of she started into AI in the fall of 2023. That's when someone talked her into going to a quote unquote master class or whatever. She went and sat down in a presentation having no background. She's in real estate investment. She knew nothing about AI at all. That turned into 6 months later, establishing her company and doing her first training session on AI, which has now catapulted her 12 months later into $1.5 million top line company with only herself, two part-time contractors, and a virtual assistant. That's it. Because she doesn't know anything more about AI. This is the takeaway, and we're going to jump into the book, and I want to hear some stories about the hire and fire stuff that we talked about in the business world, how that's going to change with AI. Well, that's what kind of what we're going to jump into in a minute here. But I got to tell you, she considers herself one of the premier AI training people on the planet. No one could prove her wrong from what I've seen after now being on the call with her for 4 hours in total. Um, but she doesn't know anything more than we know. She's orchestrating a very well streamlined process to market, get people in seats, teach them valuable information. Her pre-course prep, her course now, and I'm sure her post prep or post round out with summaries and that is spot on. She's very good at that. Um, but the bottom line is this: we're not talking about anything for every listener and viewer. We're not talking about anything on these calls when we talk about AI that's not cutting edge. We are out on the cutting edge. These are the leading thoughts. There's nothing, there's no special sauce that I was expecting
Yeah.
her to come up with some like extremely unique use cases or some really powerful insight into how to use, and there just isn't that.
You,
It's a
you know,
lot.
no, I'm sorry. It's much like anything out there. I mean, there's people that have done videos on using Word or using Excel, right? The only difference with those people is they know some more of the buttons and more of the menu. And okay, so they do that. But this is changing so fast that that if something new comes out, everybody's in the same spot tomorrow.
That's
Everybody,
right.
including you and I, including me.
Great point. Great point.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
great point. Yeah, that's right. We all
And
start back at square one with the newest release of a new model.
and something might have gotten cast aside. So her knowledge of yesterday might not translate to today with the new thing, whatever it is, they're releasing, right?
Yeah.
Whereas software that's pretty much burned in. Word, Excel, Windows, for the most part. That stuff is sort of built upon itself. You know
Right.
what I mean? And it gets the user that doesn't know anything. But AI is changing so damn fast that it's crazy. Now, you have to admire her, like you said, getting people in seats. And that's a key, right? I mean, that's the key.
She actually took one of her use cases towards the end of today's session. She took a transcript from a team meeting that she had had with her team. Obviously, she records everything. She kind of has that mentality of all her team meetings are recorded on Zoom and then transcribed thereafter. She uses Whisper Flow for a lot of her dictation into. She doesn't type anything into Chat GPT or Claude or anything. She does talk text to speech, which
Right.
which by the way translates very very well on a webinar, a virtual webinar over Zoom. It does very well. In fact, she was so good at it. I knew what she was doing in the first session, but a lot of people started talking back to her. And I'm like, no, no, no. She's dictating right now to ChatGPT. Give her a second here. So she's done a really, really good job of saying, and what I was getting to, she took a meeting transcript that she'd had with a potential client. And it wasn't a team meeting, it was a potential client meeting, and then fed it through a specific custom GPT that she had built for it to spot and identify the viral video components of that entire transcript. So it said, oh, from 4 minutes and 38 seconds to 4 minutes and 52 seconds, that's a viral video. And it clips out that text. Now, it obviously can't grab the video because it's just transcribed. But then she'll, of course, use AI to create some kind of a visual that goes along with that transcript for posting to social media. So
Right.
that's a pretty spot on use case right there.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I I'm I get skeptical about people that teach about things. I mean, I think if YouTube is great, and for the most part, you go on free, right? I mean, it's not, and that's what that stupid button does, or this is how to indent or reverse indent or whatever you got to do, right? I have some trouble because I have some experience on, you know, people that sit there and go, just pay for my class and I'll teach you all about it. Because in the end, I'm not sure the value is there. I mean, maybe or I should say probably for people that are just not like you and I, not into this stuff. They only, they turn on their computer in the morning and do their thing and then turn it off at night, right? I mean, mine's running 24/7, I don't know, I get skeptical. I think some of it's a scam.
Well, here's the
Or
thing.
not a
Here's the thing
scam.
is that here's the learning component to it, right? The studies prove that in any situation like that, so this online webinar is a perfect example. The human brain will only capture about 17% of any training that it's given in a short period of time like that. And actually, the longer period of time you drag it out in any one session, that number goes down, right? Because people get brain fade. They start to confuse themselves. They stop taking as many notes. We know that writing down notes still connects neural pathways and helps with the human brain to remember. So there's still value in that, but they'll stop. You watch people stop taking notes. You've lost them if you're doing any type of training. So
Yeah.
I think maybe scams maybe not the right word, but you certainly are.
Yeah, you're probably
You're
right.
misleading. You're misleading if you're conveying that I'm going to give you all of my information and you're going to leave here with all of my information. That won't be the case.
Well, you're going to leave here, you're right, and you're going to remember it 10 minutes from now.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, depending
Yeah.
on how much you cover, I mean, I have a lot of experience in this because I taught at the University of Nevada, Reno, right? I taught entrepreneurship and I did all that. And I would go into every class sort of summarizing the class before. And, you get the kids going, huh? And I'm like, come on, right? Let's go, right? But you're right. The more touch points you have on a topic or subject, the better you're going to eventually remember it.
Spaced repetition.
There you go.
Spaced repetition.
There you go.
So great segue into so my book, and I titled this episode the title of, well, so far it's a work in progress book underway, but right now the title of the book is AI Seller Beware, Advantage Buyer. And the reason I'm saying that is I'm digging into, as I learn all these use cases of how the implementation of AI within a small, and when I say small business, I mean less than 500 employees, right? Because really you're not talking about large enterprises until you get north, or mid-level enterprises until you get north of that. But this could be 20 to 30 employees, could be brick and mortar, meaning they have an office they go to, or still could be a virtual company. But AI is now at the point, and hopefully this is the wave that we catch, the first wave that we catch, which is the educational one. So people get the hands on them. Okay, now I've got a job to do. Show me how I save time and increase efficiency and increase completeness, right? I want to have a better output of my product than the work I'm doing today that takes me 3 hours. If you can show me how to do it 15 minutes and it's better, not because we have this thing in our mind. I really want to get your thoughts on this. We have this thing in our minds that if you take a short period of time to do something, that means you took a shortcut, right? Okay.
Well, you are taking a shortcut.
Okay, so
you are.
But what are your thoughts on the?
Well, no, you're completely right. Look, if I had an employee and said, "Hey, review this contract. Review this 20-page contract," right? And maybe they're well versed in contracts.
Great example. Keep going.
Today, right? I would hope that person would feed that into AI, meaning copy it from their Word doc or their PDF, right? Launch it into Grok or something equivalent and say, "Dude, evaluate this." And Grok would come up with, well, it's interesting. You did this. You forgot this. You did this. This is good. Don't forget to do this, right? You still have to audit Grok. So you become a manager of the AI. Everybody out there, every employee needs to understand not only AI and how to use it, how to manage it. Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to emphasize that. I know, Grok, you said that, but that's not in my particular case, industry, company. So thanks, but no thanks, right? That's the key. We all have to become little managers of AI, and this is going to continue. This, I believe, is going to continue through the AI agent phase. You got to make sure they did it right. The AI robot phase, you got to make sure the damn thing, you missed a spot on the floor over there, right? Because the AI will tell you, like AI, I can imagine, I can see it now, and I've seen it in movies. "I'm not mad at you, Rusty. I just need to keep learning," like that, right?
Right.
Which, imagine if your kids said that. Imagine when they were young, you forgot to do this. Don't get mad, please. I'm not mad. I just want to keep learning. Please tell me what I've done wrong. You know who does this really well, that attitude? The Chinese. So I did business with the Chinese for 20 years, right? And they would encourage you to go to their factories. Why? Not because you could see how wrong they were doing something, because when they did something wrong, they said, "Please, just tell us what you want. Let us go back behind the curtain, like Oz, and we'll fix it and we'll bring it back out right. We want to know how to do it right for you." And so they almost had that. They had that attitude that I can imagine AI robots are going to have. That's what's going to happen. Now, if the damn thing doesn't do it right the second, third, fourth time, who knows what's going to happen then? But this is what I think all employees are going to need to be. So besides learning AI, we need to be AI managers, little managers.
It's a great point. I would jump forward in thinking that the ideal way to be an AI manager is to get very good at creating custom GPTs of your own that are already pre-trained. So let's use your document example, your contract example. So if I had already had, say, the ideal contract for my business as a trained data source for the AI, then instead of just going to Grok and saying, "Evaluate this contract," I would go to, and I'll use the Chat GPT version, a custom GPT called Contract Analysis that already has a brain that shows it, here's how our contracts need to look. And then it says, okay, here's what the new one you just fed me compares to the other one. And then you can say, okay, well, let's open up Canvas and actually edit it in real time and come up with a finished product.
Great point. And I didn't realize, like when I started messing around with Grok, right? I didn't realize that I say he,
It's
right? My
a
wife's
male
like,
name. Come on, we can do it. We can do it.
my wife is like, it's not a real person. Um,
Yes, it
it
is.
is, honey. It's my new friend. But he learned. He not only learns, but he remembers. So, for example, I asked it something right about the law. I was doing something, and I said, okay, here's the scenario. Tell me, tell me at least what the motion would be. I was making a motion, right? And it spit it out. And I said, okay, now I'm going to change the facts on you because I thought it couldn't handle all these facts. And so I kind of did like I would do with a human,
Mm-hmm.
right? I kind of took it baby steps. And it answered me. It's like, well, I felt like had it had an emotional state, it would have said, all right, asshole, why didn't you tell me that in the first place? Because I'm smart enough to answer it. But it said, oh, well, the fact, since that's the new fact, here's what you want to do. And so you're exactly correct, right? That the more we can personalize, or I think last time you put it by like the queries, the more we can really make our asks pertinent to what we want, the better the information we're going to get the first time.
Yep. And I also learned, I've been using it as a writing tool sequence that I use. It's just a couple of different tools back to back. This particular trainer that I'm talking about, she goes straight from raw stammering into into prompting, into the prompt window. And she said, because actually as you stammer and you correct yourself and you say something incorrect and you say, actually, I didn't mean that, or, it'd be really great if you could do this. That's just an example of something that she was saying. And so she's dictating all this. And she said, when you're stammering like that as a human and you're restating things, or you're saying, no, forget I said that, just say it. I meant to say this. As you're doing all that, actually the AI uses that as context. It actually understands the fact that you recorrected yourself, and that improves the response. So think about that. And think about how 180 degrees that is from what we've been taught when it came to Google searches. We were told from Google search, you better tell it exactly what you're looking for, or it's not going to know anything.
I'm starting to think now, especially after the last few weeks of us doing this, that Google search is on the downhill
No question.
slide because I was searching for something and I thought, why don't I just search it with Grok? I'll probably get more pertinent and exact websites than putting something out there and then having to look myself through the ads and all that crap, right? And I have a feeling that you're completely correct, and it's only going to get better. That's the scary thing. It's only going to get better. You're going to get on Grok and you're going to say something, and you're going to go, and Grok's going to come back and go, oh, you mean like when you searched for cars 6 months ago? You mean like that color blue? And you're going to go, yeah, Grok, that blue, or maybe a little darker. All right, I'll remember. I mean, it's insane. It's insane.
Right. And the only limitation there is, and we don't know, it's sort of an ambiguous thing, is what is that memory time frame or memory database size or whatever. We don't really know that yet, but that's the beauty of creating either custom projects in Claude or custom GPTs in ChatGPT is now I do have it captured, and it does have memory of not only its instructions, but it has of its sources. So and here's why I default to Perplexity when it comes to that search thing you just talked about. I go to Perplexity first because of we're now starting to call these reasoning models. We're not just saying ask, answer, or prompt response. We're starting to say it's starting to think intuitively about the question. And I'll give you a very specific example because I did it back to back, and I was building slideware for updating my AI 101 workshop. And I went to Perplexity and I said, tell me about the mayoral race here in McKinney, Texas, where I live outside of Dallas. I happen to know one of the candidates for mayor. And so I wanted to see how, what Perplexity had to say about the race, who the other, contenders are for the mayor, and what else it would share with me. And that's all I put. Tell me about the mayoral race in McKinney, Texas. Same prompt into Perplexity, same prompt into ChatGPT. I clicked the search function so chat had real time, because most people don't realize that. If you don't say search function, you might not get the latest information on the web. It might default back to its knowledge cutoff date, which on ChatGPT's world is way back. We saw that when we did our voice AI, right? She said her voice or her cutoff was like end of 2023 or something like that. So when you click search in ChatGPT, it says, okay, I'm going to go out there and anything that just hit the news, I'll see it. So anyway, same prompt, search under ChatGPT and Perplexity. The description of the candidates and their particular take on the issues or what they stand for, the paragraph under each was almost identical. And chat stopped right there. Perplexity went and said, here are the main 4 issues in the McKinney area that are probably going to drive voter swing in one direction or another. We got a new airport. Well, expansion of the airport is a major issue around here, whether it'll become a hub for American Airlines or another major airline or something like that to become a national airport. It's a big deal because the construction associated. So, but what my point is, I only said the same thing to Perplexity that I said to ChatGPT. Tell me about this mayoral race. And Perplexity said, hey, you might want to know about the issues too. And chat didn't do it. That's what I'm saying. A little more intuitive, a little more reasoning to it.
Well, Grok is the same way. Grok is supposed to be current as of yesterday.
Okay.
Each day is yesterday.
Okay. Yeah.
Not live. Again, that whole live thing we talked about, but not yesterday. But here's also what's interesting about Grok. Grok will finish telling you, you've seen this, I'm sure, where it says, now, okay, would you like me to do this? Would you like me to explore this? Because you end up, it's almost like it knows you're going to read this, and it knows you might have a follow-on question because of all these facts it just gave you, or pro con or whatever it gave you, and it's already anticipating the question, which is cool because I can either say yes, sure, I don't have to write something, type something. Or I can say, or I don't have to do anything. I was thinking about this. I almost felt like it's as funny as hell how we get used to these things. Because I felt like going, oh, I better tell it no. Because that's the polite thing to do. Like if you ask me a question, I wouldn't leave you hanging for 6 weeks, right? And I'm like, fuck that. Grok doesn't give a shit. Grok doesn't know time. I can come back in 4 weeks and Grok will think, great. And he'll think it was like a second ago.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
This is crazy. I just nuts. In the last couple of weeks, I have done some research on drones now. Drones and AI. It's a whole nother deal.
Oh, that's a different world. Oh, that's a different world.
We're gonna have to do something on that because it's not just a single drone. It's drone swarms and drones that are interlinked through connectivity. But more than that, AI is controlling. Maybe you have 2 drones or somebody's flying, right? One drone has a better sensor and one drone has, God forbid, the munitions.
Mm-hmm.
So the sensor says to the other drone, they communicate. Hey, dude, you got to go this way. And then the munition guy's like, all right, watch out, I'm going to release.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is all happening now.
I believe it. I totally believe it.
Insane.
And it's because of the compute power. Well, let's definitely save that one. So so I had planned to write the book that I'm writing, the Seller Beware Advantage Buyer, because I think the buying cycle is changing. The decision cycle to buy something is changing in the B2B world to much more look like it is in the B2C world, where I don't really need a salesperson. Because I can get so far down the line in my decision making. And let's assume I was a purchasing agent for ABC company buying widgets. It doesn't really matter because I'm going to figure out what the latest widget is. Does it fit into our product line? Does it fit into whatever? And we constantly can get to the right to the very end where I might need a quote. That might be the only part where I need a salesperson. That's just kind of the concept. That's the overarching concept of the book, but I drilled down into the different areas. And the one that came out of this and has become a new chapter, and I just wrote the chapter over the weekend, was this. What's happening is we're going to get to the situation where we're going to have this AI standoff. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples because, and I'm going to give you a different example first, and then we're going to jump into the second one, which is the hire and fire situation, because that's one of the three examples I gave in the book. But let's talk about what it would be if this is the one that's happening in real time right now, because as being a small company, trying to figure out what the right marketing efforts are on social media, online, and that obviously stems over into email. Okay. If you get out there on YouTube and you get down this rabbit hole of how do I best find potential clients, potential leads? How do I gather their contact information? And how do I reach out to them? This has become sort of the new frontier in using AI. There are so many people out there that have come up with a different way to skin that cat about use this tool to do this, use this tool to do that, then use this tool to formulate the email, and then use this tool to publish or push the email without looking like spam, et cetera, et cetera. So what's happening is a bunch of companies, small companies and maybe large companies as well, are using these workflows, if you will, that are all AI. They're basically sequencing AI engines to come up with this list of people that they think could potentially be interested, and they're cold email blasting. Well, that's a nightmare for the people on the other side, because those people that make buying decisions within corporations or might, for God forbid, have purchasing in their title that someone found or an AI found on LinkedIn or on Indeed or whatever, or in a press release, wherever that anything in the world that's been digitized and published as to what Rusty's role is in this company now becomes a target. And there are so many people that are kind of going to find that role as a potential target. Can you imagine with the AI tools that are generating now thousands at a time of emails and just blasting out there, how much their inboxes, and let's assume most of it gets routed to spam, but we know all of it doesn't, how much their inboxes are getting inundated with cold emails, right? That have, sometimes you can buy lists of email domains that are disguised with your own, but they're actually coming from a domain that's quote unquote been warmed up, meaning the AI servers haven't identified you as spam. So you actually get to that person's inbox. And then when they read it, they realize it's spam and they throw it into spam. But here's my point. Here's where the AI standoff happens. While all that's happening, and more inboxes of potential decision makers for buying anything on the planet are filling up with cold outreach emails, well, they're using AI tools on their end now to not just eliminate the spam, but they're prioritizing action items from their boss, near-term action items that are due today or tomorrow in their inbox. And so they're using AI to continuously filter rather than by date, which we all have used that for years, right? You default by, well, I'm going to read the top one. That's the most recent email that came in. Or I just came back from vacation. I'll start at the bottom and work my way up. Well, they're using AI now to prioritize, because you can train the AI on what emails are important to me. I want to have anything from my boss go to the top. I want to have anything from our vice president of sales go right behind his. Oftentimes those might be the same. But here's my point. If you start stack ranking by priority using AI, at the bottom that's never going to get seen is those thousands of emails that have been generated by AI. So we've got a standoff.
Well, I don't know if it's a standoff necessarily. I'm not sure email marketing in mass like that was ever really beneficial. Maybe at the very beginning. At least that's
Well,
my
that's a
experience.
philosophical conversation. I agree with you. I tend to agree with you.
Yeah. But that said, you made a great point. Is that think about a company, okay, small, whatever, and think about the things that somebody has to do, right? Like type an email, respond to an email, go through their inbox. They have other work they have to do from other departments, right? Analyze this, create a contract, do this, create a plan, create this outline, whatever they have to do. All of those type of things, This is why I think we're all going to be AI managers, and we're all going to have an AI assistant.
No question.
Who we're going to name? We're going to name, right? I mean, it's going to be like Joey, go do this for me. Hey, read my inbox and put the stuff on top. And it's going to get to the point where you're just going to talk to it. It's just going to be like me talking to you. Or in the morning, can you imagine coming in the morning and you're going, all right, Joey, that's the name of my AI. Like, what do we got?
Yep.
Right? And I mean, it's good. It's not going to be like Hal on 2001. It's going to be real. It's going to be like, it's going to be like, you got this meeting, and you got this. We are going to streamline our activities, both at business and home, so much. It's going to be insane. I mean, think about it. You're not going to wash dishes anymore. You're not going to vacuum your carpet. You're not going to do it, right? Unless maybe the initial robots will be expensive, but you're just not going to do it. You're not going to do the things you need to do. I mean, your Tesla someday, you're going to be able to say, go to Jiffy Lube and get a damn oil change. I don't need to be there. No, I don't need to be there. Just do it.
Do Teslas need oil changes? I don't think they do.
You're right. Well, don't they have? They must have something for the transmission. But anyways, you're right. Something, whatever. Right? Go down to the gas station and get some air in the tires. Why do I have to do that?
Yeah.
It's going to be insane.
We could go so far into where I think agentic AI is going to land us very soon, even when people start wearing the glasses that have the microphone and the display inside of the lens that you're looking through. Maybe in the top right corner, you'll be able to see a small screen that looks like your computer screen. That technology is here today, and it has the talk to and from. Right now, there's not much to talk to other than a dictation device or something like hitting the voice button or the microphone button inside of chat, as we've talked about. But very soon, that becomes your avenue to talking to that Joey, the agent. And now, not only can you get verbal response, but you can also get visual. Not that you would look at a document in a small screen inside of your glasses, but there are certain imagery that it can return that will be legible from that distance. And that's coming very soon. So when you're going to get back to a world, and you said it, you're going to get back to a world where we just talk. We talk
and manage. We talk and verify. Right? Because
Okay, I'll take that.
I mean, we might. Again, you know the old adage. ChatGPT was giving wrong case law, right? Made up case law. I mean, that's gotten a lot better in the last year, a lot better.
And will continue to get better.
It will. You're still going to have to verify things. At least I would want to. And maybe. Well, I shouldn't say maybe, but we're going to get to a point you don't have to. Right? Remember? Oh man, this is dating me. It used to be like, now shut down your computer every night, right? Clear the cache and all. And you're like diligent. You were doing this crap, that, right? Or remember the early iPhones. Make sure you get rid of those applications. They're taking up memory. Now you can have a ton of stuff go. So all those things that, and I know we're not going to trust AI to start. Did you put the clause in there that says this, or did you okay, just making sure. Well, that's going to go away. And all of a sudden, your AI assistant is going to be this person that knows you, has all this history on you, everything. And they know Wade's AI assistant. Oh, yeah, just chatted with Wade's AI assistant yesterday. I know he's busy tomorrow all day out on the golf course, but he's available the next day. Why not?
You're right.
It's sick.
It's got awareness. Okay, so let's go to the second business case, because this came up. Went to a 60th birthday party of a friend they're also moving away, so it's kind of a going away thing, and his birthday celebration, and ran into a lady who's been in healthcare. She's been executive in healthcare. Think big networks of hospitals, kind of healthcare. She was always managerial level. As radiology units were growing. I know that was one of her things that she managed as hospitals continued to grow and have extra buildings for radiology and all these things. So she's healthcare throughout. Never very technical at all. Um, but she's retired now, and we got into a conversation. She happens to mention that she's on the board of an AI company. Well, you can imagine now I'm very interested. What are we going to do here? What is this? What does this AI company do? And she says, "Oh, well, specific to the healthcare space, but we are going to be using AI to shorten hiring cycles." And I said, "Oh, that's interesting. Tell me more." And she says, "Well, we're going to use AI, to vet through resumes and make sure that we're not spending time in cycles of HR companies and that we're going to basically weed out all the dead wood before we get to the point where we engage. And so we're already at a smaller list before we start into the cycle." Now, I will grant you that I was half a martini in, and I had just enough. I didn't want to. I didn't want to make this combative, and I didn't. So everything that I said with a smile on my face. I said, "Beth, what happens when every resume you get, someone before they submitted it used AI to make sure that their resume or CV was perfectly crafted for that posted job?" And her eyes opened and I said, "Beth, that's happening right now." I said, "So what happens when you get 60 submissions for a job and 50 of them on paper are perfect? And even your AI analysis says, well, we eliminated 10, but here's 50 perfectly suited candidates for this role. What happens?"
I can tell you. Let me tell you what happens.
This is why I brought it up, buddy.
I'll tell you what happens, and it's not going to be today, but it's going to happen in 10 years. I'm saying 10 years, so I think it's going to be this long. We're going to have AI that can, and I'll bet you the military or the CIA is flirting with this now, but we're going to have AI that's able to interview you, right? Like this, and look at your facial tics, your speech mannerisms, and they're going to know if you're lying, if you're embellishing, if you're telling the truth, if you are a little bit unknowledgeable, if you're bullshitting, all of that stuff. That's going to be the response to the 50 things. So it's going to be like, no problem. Joey, my AI assistant, will schedule 50 meetings because I don't give a shit. I'm not up for them, right? I'm just not. And Joey will look and he will ask these questions that will determine and go, you know what, 40 of that's bullshit. They did the AI the night before, right? And if it's being real true, it'll say, yeah, the other me did that, the other grok, whatever. But I'm just saying. So I think that's where that will go. That's how you combat that.
Okay. Only thing I want to ask is why 10 years? I could create that with an avatar and I could create it right now. And
Okay,
you could you could put it, well, I'm serious though. I could set up a Zoom with an AI agent that has its scripted questions that it must get.
It couldn't watch though. It needs to do watching, not just listen.
Well, no, I already said let's set up a canned interview using a Zoom as the interview. So the interviewee is looking at the computer screen, answering the questions that are generated, and the conversations happening with AI. And again, because of our Answermatic AI, I can tell you that is a very realistic experience.
I'm unaware of facial recognition to the point.
It would be a second step. It would be a second step to feed the response side of the interview into another engine to do that component, but it's only 2 steps.
Here's the deal. I say 10 because I'm stupid and old school.
Nah.
No, but listen, as soon as let's say Elon said, hey, let's get a team of people on that. You're right. 1 year at the most, right?
Right.
I mean, it's just done. Because you're right. Because the facial stuff is out there, right? Certainly Apple has it. I mean, airports have it, all that kind of stuff. So getting it programming it to having a psychologist to help identify from examples what's lying, what's not lying, what's nervousness, what's confidence, what's all those kind of things. You're right. It can be here ASAP.
So I think maybe the interim step to the facial tics and the human component of the person's response and how they answer and body language and the things you're talking about. In the interim step to that, and I did give Beth credit for this because she said, well, a lot of times we're asking questions to validate that the quote unquote certifications that they have or the education that they're claiming to have on the resume is legit, right? Because you can put a whole bunch of, I've got this certification and that in healthcare world, there's all kinds of things like that, all kinds of abbreviated somethings at the end of your name, right? So but you could easily train the AI to ask a few qualifying questions about those certifications, just work it into the conversation, and based on just verbally how they answer, let alone how they look, but just can they answer, is the technical aptitude there that they're claiming is, right?
Yeah. In my 30 years of running a small business, I mean, I've hired and fired probably going on 100 or more people, right? And I know the resume is but a small qualification. And I totally hear what you're saying, right? So, but more importantly, I feel that there's a direct correlation between the term of the employee and how long you spend interviewing them. And I mean, this is why you find first interviews, second interviews, third, fourth, fifth, right? And sometimes it's about the qualifications, like you said, and sometimes it's not about anything. It's about tell me what your hobbies are. What do you do, right? It's about finding a fit, because as I've learned, the industry type is only but one criteria. When you talk about business, and you mentioned it earlier, we've got solopreneurs, right? Single people shops. We've got small teams of 5, 10, 20. We've got 100 employees. We've got 500. We've got mega corporations, right? Everybody has a different, besides their industry, a different requirement for the type of person they need. I don't need a thinker. I want one of my colleagues used to say, I want to go to the freezer, get the box, and bring it back. Right? That's all I want for this job. Or you know what? I need somebody that, God damn, they can take some initiative.
Yeah.
Right? Those are different qualifications, and you can't just sit there and go, so if I ask you to do something, will you take initiative? I mean, can you imagine? No, won't do that. I mean, somebody might answer that today like that, but you got to dance around that stuff to get the right employee. But this is all going to come via AI. It's all going to come.
So let's round it out with your thoughts. And it blew up the internet from a perspective of those that follow AI and maybe some people that follow hiring trends. So a year ago, or less than a year ago, about 6 months ago, the CEO of Klarna, the fintech company out of the UK, said that they were never going to hire again. And I think that was sort of that's like a Trump statement, like just make the biggest, boldest statement that you can and let everyone react to it and then come back to reality, right? This was the Shopify CEO's internal memo. Did you see it?
I did not, but I know Shopify well.
Okay. Yeah. So his name is Tobias, and I can't quite pronounce his last name. Has one of those U's with the 2 dots over it. There you go. So Tobias, he's writing this 3-page memo that went to all employees at Shopify, and he realized somewhere along the way in writing it that he didn't want the internet to blow up with a bunch of hearsay about what it actually said. So he posted it the same day to social media that he sent it internally. And what it basically said was, you do not ask for additional resources within Shopify or additional headcount within Shopify if you haven't already proven that AI won't do the job you're asking for.
Smart. Shopify is a great company, and I used them early on in 2015.
Oh, wow.
And oh yeah, I mean, they were the answer to B2C sales, because what they did, if you remember, you probably don't remember maybe, but years ago, like 15 years ago, you had to have a website and a store. So
Mhm.
you used Microsoft Front Page or WordPress for your website, and then somebody had to literally be, a link to go over to your store software and then process your purchase. Shopify changed all that, right? Shopify is your website, and the only link to a store is a button, and boom, all of those pages are right in Shopify, and then it's amazing piece of software, and they have an AI component in it. It's great. So that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, so I think what it is, it's so not only is it one of the first really large company announcements in the US where you have a forward-thinking CEO that thinks like that. And he did go on to articulate, by the way, there's like 5 key points to the memo. It's worth going to read. But one of them was, listen, this isn't limited to any level within Shopify. This is for executive layer all the way on down. And he's adding AI proficiency testing to the performance reviews. So you can't hide. He's basically saying AI usage is a requirement, and it's an ongoing requirement. You're going to have to continue to learn it.
It's no different than 20 years ago. You've got to know how to work a laptop. Do you know Windows 95? Do you know Microsoft Word? Are you proficient at Word?
Yes.
Can you generate a document? I mean, it's
Yeah.
no different. No different.
Yeah. I think it's but I think the early signal from it is this. This is not necessarily job elimination, because that's been a lot of people's fear of AI is it's going to cost me my job. Well, this is obviously kind of the same thing. If you're eliminating new hires because you've challenged your existing employees with a almost impossible task, in my view, of proving somehow that AI can't do an entry-level job, that would be now, I'm not saying every new hire that they would be asking for headcount for or resources, a contracting resource for, is an entry level, but you have to think along those terms that, wow, just the elimination of just submit a rec and get a headcount approved, that cycle's been going on for 100 plus years since the Industrial Revolution.
I'm going to go back to what I said. I think we're in a period now of interim AI, meaning that until we trust it, like we trust our computers or a Tesla car to drive itself or anything else that
Good
we
example.
trust, right?
Yeah.
The thermostat, is that program really going to change the temperature, right? All of those things we have learned to trust. Well, here's the biggest one: online purchasing. I can't put my credit card online. Oh my God, right?
Yeah.
All of those things we trust. Right now, we need managers. If I was a business that was hiring people, I would not only ask your familiarity with AI, I would ask, so tell me, how are you going to use it, and how are you going to manage it? And if they don't understand that I'm going to take this AI input as a tool, and I may tweak something, I may come out differently. I'm not just going to go, here's the AI, here you go, because why do you need me, right?
Yep.
We're going to have AI managers. That's the important part of, I think, the next 5 years in AI and hiring people.
Well, and I think, and we'll wrap it up on that point. What we've been discussing, and what I've heard a couple of times from a few different people, YouTubers, and things I've read over the last 10 days is, and it's well said, AI is a human skill. And it's almost a contradiction in terms, but AI is a human skill today, and it needs to be practiced, and it needs to be continuous education. So the fact that it exists on its own doesn't mean anything right now. It's humans putting hands on it, and to your point, managing the output so that we get the result that we're looking for. And the result should end up being top notch. That's what people need to understand is AI is shouldn't be used as a quick shortcut to getting a C- on a test. If you're going to use AI I'm just using test as an example, as just a generic term, but if you're going to use AI for an output, it better darn well be an A+ quality, because you've managed it correctly. You've managed the initial output quizzed back at it as you love to do, asked it to add more clarification to this or expand on that component,
And
or call
I-
BS on a component of the response?
I still think that until AI has knowledge or can form an opinion, and until that opinion has consequences, AI will still never be as smart as human beings. Now, again, it can look up a lot of data. It can give me the pros and cons, but until it can tell me, hey, Rusty, in your situation, you should invest in this. You should go on this day because the trap, but that's what one part of that. I have a real problem that AI is not going to have a consequence for being wrong. And I mean, I don't know what to do about that, because it's like, what are you going to, what are you going to do? I'm going to turn you off. Fuck you. I don't care. What's an AI going to say? I mean, it's
Yeah, accountability is a big deal too.
right. And maybe the programmers would say, well, it doesn't think like that. Well, maybe it doesn't. But when I want an opinion about something I'd asked for me or my company or my family or my person, I want to know that it's picking something and there's some kind of consequence, because that's what we all do every day. Right?
Yeah.
We come on, we do it.
Yeah.
So that's a whole nother deal. But
well, okay, so let's pick up two things and we will wrap this one up, but I want to take two things that you said. And I'll do my best I'll tell you what, I'll make a promise to not get myself up to speed on, or I won't do a lot of grokking or thinking about the accountability component. I can't make that same promise when it comes to drones, because you got me really intrigued now. But let's pick those two up as to what happens on the tail end of decisions made using AI as part of next week's conversation.
It's a biggie. That's a biggie.
Yeah, it is a biggie. So, all right, folks, listen, Rusty's contact information is in the notes below. My information's in the notes below. And until next time, this is Blackjack Wade signing off. Thanks, Rusty.